Now, Nigeria's search for a new constitution gathers momentum, with prominent citizens under the banner of the Patriots calling for the abolition of the current presidential system of government. The group at a three-day national constitutional summit held during the week in Abuja is seeking a return to a constitutional framework that will ensure autonomy to the federating units as obtained in the First Republic under the parliamentary system. It rejected the 1999 constitution as amended, insisting that the existing document was imposed on Nigerians by the military. They declared that the push for a new people's constitution has moved to the implementation phase. The Patriots announced its readiness to submit a comprehensive report of these summit resolutions to the presidency, while a draft legislative bill will be sent to the National Assembly. And the group, under the leadership of former Commonwealth Secretary General Chief Emeka Onyeokwu, framed these resolutions as a direct response to a failing system. Here's how he puts it.
1999 Constitution, as amended, is not such a constitution. It was not democratically formulated. It was instead imposed on the country through a decree by the military administration.
All right, Chief Emeka Onyeokwu there, and joining me in the studio is the Secretary General of the Patriots, Honorable Olawale Okunniyi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, and so just give us highlights of some of the resolutions reached at this three-day conference, because a whole lot of Nigerians missed out because of the Buhari mourning and all of that. What are the major highlights you've reached? Well,
thank you very much. Fundamental in these resolutions is the resolve that the 1999 Constitution, flowing from a military decree 24 of 1998, is not capable of eliciting the legitimacy of the people, and so should be replaced. That is the first, very first and fundamental. And therefore, on the heel of that resolution is a call for the constitution of a constituent assembly to undertake to look at the political processes and the politics of Nigeria and the constitution of Nigeria, and to enact a new people's constitution. The Constituent Assembly should be democratically elected.
Okay. Like so it happened in 1978.
Oh, yes. So that it can derive legitimacy from the people. Because for us, it is not the content of a constitution that validates the constitution, but the process by which such constitution emanates. Therefore, the process must be fundamentally democratic in choosing those who will converge to give us that new constitution.
All right.
And that the summit observed that the National Assembly, that the Constituent Assembly will not be in competition with the National Assembly, the Constituent Assembly, but that because the National Assembly does not have the power to give a constitution, it has the power to make and amend laws. If you look at Section 8.
To also amend the Constitution itself too.
No, not at all.
It doesn't have the powers to amend the Constitution. I mean, it's the only institution that does that.
Here in Nigeria, and that's an aberration, where you have elected representative dealing with the Constitution. It is the sovereign, the people of any country, that has the power to deal with provisions of the Constitution. That's why you have referendum, you have plebiscite, you have issues of Brexit. You know, the people will go to poll whenever there is something wrong with any provision of the constitution, the people have to go to poll.
Yeah,
but in Nigeria,
but the lawmakers are representatives of the people.
they are representatives so elected to make and amend laws. They make laws from the provision of the constitution. And even in the constitution of Nigeria, any law that is contrary to the provision of the constitution shall be null and void and of no effect.
Yeah.
So, ab initio, the people of a particular country or Nigeria should normally have given unto themselves a constitution before the commencement of the tenure of any government. But in 1998, it was not so. The military was in a rush to leave the scene because they've lost credibility. And therefore, they quickly enacted Decree 24 of that, and then pass and put some provision together. That cannot be a constitution. I told you earlier that it is the procedure by which a constitution, is promulgated that gives validity to or legitimacy to a constitution.
Yeah, but majority of the content, sorry to cut you in here, the majority of the content of the 1999 constitution was lifted by the military from the 1979 constitution, which had a constituent assembly, which was the product of a constituent assembly with the likes of Chief Rotimi Williams and all of that. So how would you then say that if majority, if over, according to the military, they said over 85% of the content of the 1999 constitution is from the 1979 constitution, if those provisions were agreed upon in 1979, how come you will now say that majority of that does not represent what the people had agreed in 1979?
Look at the time lag. 1979, 1999. Look at it. New realities must have emerged. Apart from that, for scholars, even the 1979 constitution has its own shortcut in terms of procedure. Because the SMC, Supreme Military Council, sat over the recommendations of the Constituent Assembly and tinkered with it, amended it, and removed some part of that provision, which makes it not a people's constitution in the long run. You cannot call that, because for a constitution to be a people's constitution, the constitution enacted or put together by the Constituent Assembly will be proclaimed by the Assembly. It is not supposed to go to government, who are representative and agent of the people, for them to tinker. Where you have government representative tinkering with provision of a constitution or a draft constitution, then it's no longer a constitution but a decree. Or a law, a mere law. So that is it. So we must study the process of making a constitution. A constitution is never given or promulgated by a government or agent of the people. So it's the direct produce of the people at the Constituent Assembly.
All right, you're saying that we should go back to the 1963 Constitution, and then, of course, there's the 2014 National Conference.
Yeah, we go back to it as working document,
all of them.
And so as proposals.
And then, of course, you're also talking about state police, devolution of powers, separation of the Minister of Justice from Attorney General, and then you want independent candidature. And then you want a parliamentary system of government. Talk to us how all of this could actually, come to light in the sense of that, it's very difficult for Nigerians to agree on key issues in the country nowadays.
We are not fixated.
Even the issues of state police has been ongoing. The debate has been ongoing.
We are not fixated or absolute on the content of. Sorry, we are not fixated on the recommendations about content of the Constitution. The fundamental is what I have put out. What we have said that fundamentally is that the Constituent Assembly should be constituted. When we get there, the proposals of the Patriot will also be submitted. Parliamentary system, regional whatever and all whatever that people have come to canvass will be debated at the constituent. But the key thing, because we cannot sit at the summit and write a constitution for the Nigerian people, so that we don't also become
victims of what you're preaching.
We are preaching. Therefore, we take it that people have various interests, have their position on what they want. We take all of that, but we say with a caveat: we all go and canvass our position at the Constituent Assembly. It is the Constituent Assembly that can negotiate the content and provisions of the Constitution. All the other recommendations are recommendations to government. Look at this if you can do it. But the key recommendation has to do with procedure of generating a people's constitution, which has to go through an elected Constituent Assembly.
And how would that be different from that of the 2014 National Conference that was put in place by the Jonathan administration? Do you not foresee a political crisis breaking out? Because, I mean, when it came to the issues of nominating people into that National Conference, I mean, there was all sort of, opposition to it and all of that. And eventually, when the whole document was produced, it's yet to be implemented. So how sure are you that if that does happen, assuming President Bola Tinubu decides to constitute a Constituent Assembly, that the recommendations could actually be taken and then it will become law?
Well, where there is a will, there is a way. But the model we are proposing is slightly different from what led or what became the 2014 National Conference.
Okay.
Largely, you have nominations of the president into that confab. I was there at that confab, nominated also to represent a constituency by the president. And that confab, except the president, takes the recommendation to the National Assembly or further to Constituent Assembly, cannot be a Constituent Assembly. A Constituent Assembly is populated by elected representative of the people. In 1987, I think there was a zero-party election that led to the constitution of a Constituent Assembly under Babangida.
Yeah,
that's the kind of
the 1989 aborted constitution.
Aborted constitution that didn't say. Yeah. That is the kind of model.
So
that normally
each community people be elected to represent them.
There could also be nomination by government, but it will just be addendum.
Okay.
It won't be the fundamental. The fundamental will be that various constituencies, nationalities, professional body will have to undergo proper election.
All right.
And representative emerge into the Constituent Assembly. So it's different. Okay. It's slightly different. And you see, where there is a strong will, government cannot oppose, because in that case, you find out that the people's will is involved. They have gone to elect their representative. They are expectant that something will come out of that conference. So they are ready to defend it.
Okay.
Where you have elections, people are truly involved. Just like, you see, the Babangida process, though we criticize government, was quite robust. Yeah. Though it was Maradonic, but then
eventually politicized.
But then it was robust. You have MAMSA, you have political bureau, you have national coordinating debate, national debate coordinating committee. Yes. All of were formed, and then you saw all kind of momentum generated. The people became aware that we want to write a constitution. Then some of these things were broken down to local languages. People became aware, and then people were holding the process. Because the moment the people cannot hold the process of constitution making, then nobody will defend it.
It will lose legitimacy.
Nobody will even defend it.
So as we try to wrap up this conversation, talk to me on this highly political question I'm going to ask you. Why is it that it's when we have southern presidents, that the agitation for a new constitution comes much more, becomes stronger? Like it happened under Obasanjo, it happened under Jonathan in 2014, and it's happening under President Bola Tinubu. Could it be that southern Nigeria is more pained that the content of the 1999 constitution affects it more than other parts of the country, especially the northern part?
I wouldn't know, but, well, maybe southern leaders are seen as Democrats. I don't know. Or it may be coincidental. You know, I mean, I can't explain that here. But, well, maybe time lag. People feel that we now need to do something. There could be factors that could. But the most important is that it is better for the people at any point to agitate for something that can bring, maybe the kind of insecurity that we have seen. For instance, the Patriot became worried about the killings in part of the north. 200 people, Benue, Letu, and so on. And we can't look at that and say Nigeria is secure. Yeah. So it is the quest to secure Nigeria and make it stable that has led to this summit to say, look, part of what we need to make this place, you know, secure for Nigerians is to have a constitution that can allow for Nigerians to prosper, that can defeat corruption. Because the Nigerian constitution itself can be characterized as corrupt. Because when you look at the opening page, opening the preamble, say we people of Nigeria have elected to give unto ourselves. And course, that's a lie which didn't happen.
The military put it there on our behalf.
The Bible says, if the foundation is faulty, what can the righteous do? So okay, our foundation that is faulty is the Constitution of Nigeria.
Okay.
And therefore, Nigerians will need to do something about that. And that is why this has come up at this time. Maybe it's coming during Southern, whatever. That's your calculation. But right, I mean, Nigerians at one point or the other will have to agitate for their lives to be secure and then for them to be prosperous or to be able to eat well and sleep well.
All right. I had to ask you that question because if you remember during the 2014 National Conference, there was that brickbat between the North and the South on some of the provisions that were put in place. And there's this emir of Adamawa who had said, I mean, the Lamido of Adamawa who had said that if certain conclusions were not reached, that he was even going to leave and go to Cameroon to be with his brothers and sisters all over there. The issues of reaching consensus as such constituent assembly is usually the challenge. And there's usually that North-South divide heavily. And you know, you get some people saying that the feudal North is against reforms, and then some people in the North will say no, the South, they are suspicious of some agenda from the South. They could be maybe to break the country and all of that. How do we douse those kind of tensions so that people look at it pragmatically and objectively without this North-South lens?
Well, that is what the Patriot is trying to do, to build consensus ahead of Constituent Assembly. And the whole significance of the summit is to forge consensus, not Southern. And when you look at the summit, you find out that attendance from all over the country, North, South, West, everywhere, we all attended. And at some point we disagree, then again we came back to agree. And our agreement is to say, look, all these issues are very nice for us, but we cannot sit down here. Let's put that to government. You know, we are still going to submit our report to the president and also do a legislative bill to the National Assembly, to engage the National Assembly on the procedure of getting a Constituent Assembly. So what we have done is to forge that, to begin to create the basis, the foundation for that consensus. Because Patriot in implementing this resolution is going to further forge consensus. One, in representation of committees. Two, again, in trying to, you know, balance the issues.
Yeah.
What is the interest of the North? What is the, who is going to lose if Nigeria is reformed or Nigeria is reconfigured? No state in Nigeria is unviable. We all have what has made state in Nigeria unviable is the feeding bottle federalism, where you just look up to the center, all monies go to the center, and people go to the center to capture the resources. But if we allow for the federating unit, the state, to be in charge of their resources, the state will be viable. No state in Nigeria lacks resources. Anywhere, look at north, look at the land, look at everywhere. So therefore, some of the narrative that we are going to put out in the Patriot will reassure people and assuage their fear that nobody is trying to change them. It's good for us to be at peace. This is insecurity must stop. We must stop losing lives and property, particularly in the north.
All right, we must thank you so much, Honorable Olawale Okunniyi. And of course, the debate goes on. But I can tell you we're going to have that 2014 crisis again. I mean, when you had that Lamido of Adamawa.
Don't pray for it. And it may not
because
happen.
if you don't mobilize people ahead of time very well, it's going to turn out into that kind of chaos. And then, of course, you hear, you know, including someone like Gani Adams actually replying him and saying that, look, no one can threaten Nigerians on the making of a new constitution. And so that you don't have people like, you know, the Lamido of Adama also saying that this looks like a Western agenda to drive conversations.
Not at all.
There's always that North-South divide. But we must thank you so much, and we must commend all of you for reviving this discussion, because it's been long in place, and of course, the progressive government in place now, the APC, have promised Nigerians they will do restructuring, and we haven't really seen much of that, while some other people claim that President Bola Tinubu is quietly restructuring the country, especially through the recognition of the 6 development commissions that have been put in place, and it's a subtle return to regional development has been canvassed in the 1963 election. But we must thank you for the immense wealth of knowledge that you brought to this issue, and we wish you well. That's the much we can take on this edition of This Week. Thanks to our production team here in Abuja, Lagos, and London. Do join us same time next week for another exciting edition. I'm Sumner Sambi.